Hi, everyone. I'm Matthew Grant from Waypoint. I'm the new business director here. You've probably met me a bunch of times already, and we've spoken a whole heap in the past. We're not going to run for a great amount of time today. We want to keep this short and sharp. So we're going to jump straight into it. As a quick intro, though, and to sort of set the scene, Tim and I, we've worked together for years. And we wanted to run this webinar because we had a lot of customers, not just like the traditional made to order type of inventory businesses who needed an easier way to take deposits. Traditional payment processors don't often cut it. B2B portals get, kind of moderate take up, unfortunately. And for something as common as taking deposits, it's not really the easiest thing to automate. Would you say that's fair to say, Tim?
It's beyond fair to say, I think. Absolutely, absolutely. What we find is a lot of the suppliers, wholesalers, importers that we're working with just had these problems over and over and over again. So that's kind of where all this came from, and that's why we ended up building these features.
Yeah, great. And just for everyone who is watching, just as a quick reminder, so as we're walking through some of today's discussion points, if you've got questions, there's a little Q&A box down the bottom. And at the end of what we're talking about and the presentation, we will start going through a bit of a Q&A. So as they come up, as you think of them, just throw them in, and yeah, we'll answer them live.
Super. Thanks, mate. Thanks so much for the introduction. So, as Matt said, I'm Tim Demetrio. I'm the CEO of PencilPay. We provide integrated payment solutions for B2B inventory businesses, and we really just focus on those B2B inventory businesses. Now, what can you expect out of today's session? So, to give you a bit of context, I spend all of my day talking to product sellers and to inventory software integrators. That's basically the only people I speak to all day, and my family if they're lucky. I ask a lot of questions. I'm a very curious person, and those questions, they relate to how we can make it easier for accounts teams to do their jobs better. And over the last 24 months or so, and especially at the start of last year, there were two areas that really stood out for us. So the first was that businesses who import stock or businesses that customize products during the production process, they were really after a easier and faster way to be able to collect and recognize deposits, as Matt alluded to before. So their existing processes had a bunch of problems, included things like tracking payments, revenue recognition, and then this constant need for the back and forth communication between account sales and the warehousing staff. And the second was that wholesalers that traded almost exclusively on payment terms, so 7 days, 14 days, 30 days, they wanted the ability to shift some of their existing accounts back to payment before dispatch or prepaid, especially their new accounts that they were bringing on, just because of that extra risk, I guess, associated with the back end of COVID. No doubt a lot of you guys have seen the stresses that the businesses are under right now as a delayed reaction from the situation over the last 3 or so years. Now, as Matt said before as well, the problem here with a lot of the payment before dispatch stuff is that wholesalers are not e-commerce businesses, and if you're an e-commerce business, your entire life is built around payment before dispatch, but that process just doesn't work for a lot of B2B sellers. As Matt said, the take up of these B2B portals is not, it's not enormous. So a lot of the sales and a lot of the orders are done through consultation, either with a sales rep, or they're done over the phone, or by text message, or by email. So to this point, we went and took this information to a bunch of our partners, and that included Matt and the team at Waypoint, and they confirmed that I guess these are two really, really common problems. Matt, did you want to kind of add anything to that?
Yeah. I mean, just to reiterate what you said, the revenue recognition was a big thing. Especially GST, I'd say that would be one of the bigger things. So like having the GST recognized at an inappropriate time was something that we were seeing a lot of. and also businesses that were using a bill of materials in some way were having some issues there about just where the revenue was being recognized as well when there were orders being placed. But yeah, you're quite right. You know, over the last 24 months, yeah, the number of times I'm speaking to a existing client or a potential client, and you know, I ask them the question about payment terms, you know, and it's like, yeah, we offer payment terms, and there's always the but, and that but is that, yeah, we actually wanting to get away from terms, or at least for some customers, and kind of reset the process a bit and get people back on prepayment, and then figure out you know, who the good ones are, and yeah, like you said, that ecom cash and carry style way of doing things, just it doesn't work for B2B businesses.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. So I think what we'll do is we'll start to talk about the deposit side of things, and just for context, I'll give you a couple of examples of businesses that we work with that you know, that do use the deposits feature religiously. So one business is LT Lighting. They import high-end lighting products from Europe, and their lead time's anywhere from 4 to 12 weeks, and it can be, look, in some instances it's up to a year. If there's a delay on construction of a house, for example, it could be a year before they come and pick up the lighting. Another business is 3D Stone. They import and customize natural stone, and that can take anywhere from 2 to 8 weeks. You've got Extracted Espresso. They import coffee machines, so they'll take a deposit on a coffee machine, and they'll take the balance when it arrives from Italy. And again, that's 4 to 12 weeks as a bare minimum. And then the last business is Oz Buckets. They customize. They're a different one. They customize excavation diggers for all different types of terrain, and the customization of their products can take 4 to 8 weeks. So that's just some examples of the type of scenarios that we're talking about. Now, we think, what have these businesses got in common? So they all sell and manufacture products that have an extended lead time between when goods are ordered and when goods are delivered. And a couple of things: they don't want to be out of pocket, so they require a deposit. It's pretty straightforward. So previously, if you're a business that took deposits, you would have had to, you would have had only a couple of choices. So the first would be you would raise a quote, a customer call you up, and they give you some credit card details over the phone. You'd have to probably plug that into an FPOS machine. And because it's a fractional payment, it's only a percentage of the total, you can't just send out a payment link to a customer, because very hard to configure that properly and get them to pay a certain percentage. Or the other alternative would be that you'd take a bank transfer, and then the customer would send you a remittance, which, let's face it, they're not great at sending remittances through all the time. Then what you'd have to do is, or what you'd do is you'd create an invoice and ask for a partial payment. Again, same process over the phone, etc. But then you run into the problems of, you have to recognize GST, you have to recognize the bill of materials, and that might be 12 weeks before the job's complete, which is completely antithetical to every accounting rule. So to make this process a little bit easier, we built a feature which allows you to actually take the fractional payment and create the quote. You can set whatever you want the deposit amount to be, as far as the percentage is concerned, and then you can just let your customers click to pay the amount you want. So in a moment, we'll show you through a little video, which will just kind of cover it off. But you can either send off the link and get the customer to pay, or you can just charge it to a stored card, which is encrypted and PCI compliant. And the good thing is, all of the admin from the old process that I just went through is automated. So the customer gets their receipt automatically. We apply the credit to the actual quote in Cin7 rather than the customer. We log a prepayment in Xero, so you can reconcile the payment but not recognize the revenue. And then once you sync the invoice to Xero, the prepayment is automatically applied. All right. Matt, did you want to add anything before we get into the video?
Oops, sorry, I was muted. I love this. I love this. Really, the only thing I wanted to add is that two things actually I wanted to add. We get a lot of questions about this exact process in our hourly services. So, you know, we do implementations, we do hourly services, and typically the hourly services aren't people that we've implemented. And so when they have, you know, a list of questions or immediate priorities, I can tell you this is on that priorities list. Oh God, at least a couple times a month.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So the next thing we're going to run you guys through is just a little demo video. Now I'll kind of talk to it, but Tommy, if you want to load that up. Okay, so what you've got here is you've got a instance of Cin7, and we've raised a quote. Now the quote is for $10,000, and we've just authorized it. Now, usually what we do is you'd send an email off to the customer, then they can open the quote and have a look at it. But just for the purpose of this demo, we'll just hit print, and then we'll be able to access the quote here. So the quote, as you see, it's for 10,000. And what we're going to do is just click on the Pay by PencilPay link. Now, what we've got it set to is we want to take a 50% deposit at quote. So you'll see here that that's $5,000, and your customers they can enter a credit card there. Now you'll see that I've got a credit card already stored. So just for the purpose of this demo, I'm just going to use that one as the payment method. And then we just click there, hit pay, and you'll see that that's successfully charged, and that'll automatically write back to Cin7. You'll see at the bottom there's no credits added, but if we hit refresh on that one, then what it will show up is immediately that $5,000 deposit will be added to the quote rather than the customer inside of Cin7. And then you move through. So then you'll move through and you'll obviously go and authorize the invoice and all that type of thing. And the key thing here is that payment will be added as a prepayment in Xero the next time that Cin7 syncs with Xero. All right, so that means that the next day when the payment settles into your account, it'll be pre-matched in Xero, and then you can reconcile it at the time rather than having to wait for it, or rather than having to manually create that prepayment inside of Xero. Then what you'll do is, you'll just move through the standard process of shifting that to an invoice, and then again, sending that invoice off to the customer. And that customer is just going to follow that standard process again. Now they can either do an electronic funds transfer to you, or alternatively, if you want them to pay by card, then you'll see in a moment, we'll be able to, there we go, we've got $10,000 invoice, $5,000 already been paid at the quote stage. And we'll just click that link and then make that second payment. Too easy. And again, that'll write back into Cin7 straight away, and it'll sync across to Xero once you the payment will get added to Xero once you sync the next time, and the exact same process happens, and then it's got a $0 balance. And that's a really nice way to completely close out the sale before it even touches, but almost before it even touches Xero. Now, we'll quickly move on to payment before dispatch, because this is something that we've seen a shift. And when I talk about a shift, so prior to the last couple of years, we used to have an 80-20 rule. So 80% of all the invoices that were raised in our platform, of which each month we have about 65 million in new invoices raised. Out of that 65 million, about 80% was on 7, 14, 30, 60-day terms. We've seen the shift that we've seen in the last couple of years has been 60-40. So only 60% is done on terms and 40% is prepaid now. And that is a seismic shift. So that's why this feature has been so important. So if you're not running a B2B portal, which some customers do, some customers don't, or a portion of your customer base doesn't use the B2B portal, which we obviously see quite commonly as well, then what happens today is that you have to send an invoice to the customer, wait for them to click to pay, or they can do a bank transfer or call you up with a credit card. They're kind of your options. But then you got to wait for the funds to hit the bank account, or you got to wait for the customer to actually click to pay, which that can be a day or two before they're ready to actually pay. which stuffs up the warehouse and it stuffs up that process and speed of actually getting the stock out. So the feature that we built, and we're not going to show you a demo for this, but it's really straightforward. We built a feature that allows you to quickly store a customer's credit card details in Pencil, raise an invoice, hit authorize, and then Pencil just automatically processes the payment within a few seconds and then sends the confirmation receipt to the customer. It'll send you a confirmation, and it will also update both Cin7 and Xero with that payment. So that process takes all of 10-20 seconds, and it means that the stock can just go straight out and you don't have to bother about waiting for the customer to pay, which for prepaid is a really, really nice way to go. Now, the next thing that Matt, did you want to add anything to that one?
Yeah, it's funny that when you were talking about the metrics of like how that customer split or that percentage has gone from 80-20, it's not dissimilar for us. You would think that just given that you are a payments platform, that it might be, that's all you're looking at, and so maybe the metric might be different for us, but it's about the same. I've got to say, and even just that shift of so yeah, we used to offer terms to everyone that came through the door, and now we want to tighten that up and put new people on prepaid. And then once they've kind of proven that they are good prepaid customers, we want to then have some flexibility to introduce and maybe put some structure around introducing payment terms to them in kind of a now post-COVID environment. That's been really interesting for us. So yeah, it's basically, it's just echoed like what you're seeing, what we're seeing. It's the same. It's the exact same thing, both ends of the spectrum.
And what you're saying is a lot about order volume. So often a supplier will get a new customer on board who will make large claims. They'll say, we order this every week and
Yeah.
Trying to get payment terms. But, we always go down the route of give them 4 weeks, see what their ordering volume is. If they're the type of customer that you want long-term to be on payment terms, by all means, you can very easily use our platform to shift them across to terms. But then it's always nice to collect their credit card on prepaid, and then if they do go on to terms, you've always got credit card as security,
Yeah. That's something I wanted to ask just quickly. Do you have any kind of metrics or data on how this process kind of equates to from time spent previously to time saved?
Absolutely. So I've actually got a slide in about 2 slides time. I've got a slide. What we'll do quickly is we'll just run through a little testimonial. It's like a 2-minute testimonial. So I'll show you that one, and then we'll get into, I've created a graph which kind of shows the amount of time that can be saved or is being saved almost every transaction, and then it's kind of it'll map out. It'll also map out based on X amount of prepaid transactions every month, how many hours you can save. So Tommy, do you want to kick off with that?
Businesses Bias Packaging, and I'm Jane Cornby, the business owner, and we are located in Geelong, Victoria. So we are a hospitality and packaging supplier, and predominantly supply hospitality venues and retail, so products like paper bags and any sort of food packaging that you would find your food in. We have a wide range, so we have some prepay, some a cash on delivery, not so many of those now, but still some of those, and then we've got terms, so we've got 7, 14 or 30-day terms, depending on what we negotiate with the customers. We use Xero for our finance side, and then for our inventory management we use Cin7. The main reason that we were looking for a system like Pencil was because we have a lot of customers that will bring up and pay by credit card over the phone, so we're looking for a system that could securely store customer payment information, and we came across Pencil because it integrates with both Xero and DR, and it looked like a really good system that would streamline, save us time. Definitely solved our problem. We've Everybody here loves using it. It can store our customer data, fully encrypted, it's safe, customers trust the system, and it also helps us be able to get payment from customers on time once we get them to sign up through Pencil. Yeah, it was probably just more what we were looking for at the time, like what features in a system we were looking for, and we were really just looking for a system that would help manage our trading terms with customers and getting payments on time. So the e-com probably wasn't overly relevant for us at that point. This is more of a behind the scenes thing rather than for the customer to actually to shop on by e-com. So this Pencil sort of had all the necessary features for what we needed. And we often, so if we have a customer in Pencil, we don't charge them until the day it goes out for delivery. So they might put an order in, a week prior. We don't take payment until they get the goods. It just gives us the reassurance. It saves time in processing it, and it saves time in not chasing up. Yeah, for sure. The team here really like using it. It's reduced our admin time. It's really intuitive, the interface, and it just means that we can get all of our payments on time. The team at Pencil have been really supportive and always there to help us when we have a question or an issue. So definitely highly recommend from our side.
All right, awesome. Now, Jane was talking before about time savings. So they do a hell of a lot of orders, and they'll process hundreds of prepaid orders every month. Being a packaging business, so you'll see here you've got the amount of prepaid orders per month, and then you've got the amount of hours per month that you would spend in processing. So you'll see the differences there. It could be anywhere from kind of 4 to about 9 hours if you're processing 100 prepaid orders, and if you're doing it manually, and that just goes up from there. So the time savings are really, really significant, and over hundreds and hundreds of orders, it really adds up. Now, just as a really quick summary, obviously we handle deposits and payment before dispatch. And if you've got customers that buy an account, we also do digital credit applications, and we've got multiple collections features as well. So, automated billing from a stored card, or direct debit, direct entry over the phone, and things like payment plans and that type of thing. So, Matt, do you want to, before we get into some questions and stuff, do you want to kind of round us out with any comments?
Well, one, it was nice to see Jane's face. So Buyers is a client of ours, and yeah, we worked with them for quite some time. So it was good to see them talking about the platform, because I know it does solve a lot for them. But yeah, just quickly, if we've got a couple of minutes, could you touch a little bit more on some of the features that you've got about payment terms and credit applications? Because I know that that's something that will come up, and then we can jump straight into the Q&A after that. We've got a couple of questions already, and happy to go through.
Yeah, and I've actually got two that have come through from attendees as well, so that's awesome. So I'll quickly run through it. So basically, any wholesaler, supplier, distributor, you tend to have a certain portion of your customers that buy on payment terms, 7, 14, 30 days. We give you a configurable credit application form, which basically can either sit on your website, or it can be accessible for a new customer via a link. It's pretty simple. Customer just enters their ABN, hits search, and that'll automatically drag out all of the relevant legal entity names that are attributed to that ABN. And then the customer can quickly go and complete the form. Now, the forms are configurable. If you've got a prepaid customer, you might just want 2 small pieces of information: the account's person and delivery address. If you've got a 30-day customer, you might want to get a personal guarantee and that type of thing. So the forms will dynamically change based on the type of payment term. And then we give you the ability, as part of the forms, to be able to collect and store either credit card or bank account details, to be able to automatically charge that customer based on whatever the payment term is. And that automatically connects in with your accounting software. So whatever the due date says in your accounting software, we can charge on that date. Or you can turn that off, and you can let a customer just on board without a credit card. Or you can just keep the credit card as security. A lot of people like to collect it, but don't actually charge it because they want to take a bank transfer. So a lot of flexibility in there. That kind of gives us a bit of a summary, mate. And I might just start by reading out a couple of the questions. So Susie's asked a question. So if you charge a credit card surcharge, do you add it to the quote if you know that the customer is using that payment method? So the way that works, Susie, is when you can, in the back end of Pencil, there's a setting where you can either on charge the credit card fees, you can absorb the credit card fees, or you can split them with the customer. So if you send out a link to that customer, what'll happen is they'll click on it, it'll open up and just say it's a $5,000 invoice, and you want to charge the credit card fees. It'll have a line item which is the invoice amount 5,000 or the quote amount 5,000, and then the credit card fees attributed will automatically be added, so you don't need to add anything, and then it'll have the total. Then the customer just enters their card details and hits submit. The funds will settle into your account the following day, and you'll actually never see the on-charged amount. So and then the same works as if you split. So just say you split the card fees with a customer 50-50 or 20-80 or however you want to configure it, the same goes. Vivian has asked a question: what happens when a B2B customer's credit card declines? So we've got a process for that one. So the way that works is you guys will receive a notification immediately. It'll get added to your dashboard in Pencil. Now, and that dashboard will show any declined transactions. Plus, the customer is going to receive a link where they can add any other credit card details, or they can move through the process of giving you a call and reading it out over the phone for you. So there's workflows built in for anything that's declined, and we try and make it as easy as possible for you. And then the last question that we've got from an attendee is around the Privacy Act, the rules around storing credit card details. How does this impact your software? So we run full PCI DSS Tier 1 compliance. So what that means is all of the credit card details that are stored in the platform are stored under military grade encryption, which means that no one can access any of the credit card details. All you'll see and all we'll see is the last 4 digits of the credit card, and then everything else will be asterisked out. And then it will automatically bill the customer on the due date, or alternatively, you can hit a manual charge button, but you'll manually charge the token of the credit card. You won't have access to the actual credit card itself. And hopefully that answers that question. Is there any other questions? We've got another one. How does a surcharge income get processed in Xero? Okay, so thanks, Susie. So if you guys surcharge, it doesn't go into your income, so it's not considered income. So what happens is your income will just be, so the $5,000 on the invoice or the invoiced amount, just say it's $5,000. What happens is you guys receive that invoiced amount. What happens in the back end is we automatically add the charge, and then the charge gets split out at the time of the transaction. So you guys never see the extra, 1.75% or whatever it is. It automatically gets split out at the time. So it doesn't touch your accounting software. If you guys absorb the fees though, what happens is we automatically create a bill inside of your accounting software. And what happens is if it's just say it's a $50 credit card charge, we'll add a $50 bill into your accounting software. And then what you do at the end of each day, or as soon as the funds settle the next day, if you receive 10 payments in a day, you can click one button, and that one button when you're matching your transactions will match all 10 transactions in one hit, including all bills, and it will reconcile everything in one click. Thanks, Susie. Cheers. Now, is there any other questions, guys?
While we're waiting for anyone to type some other questions into the Q&A box, I've got a few questions that came through prior to the event for people who couldn't attend.
Sure.
So yeah, I'll start reading them out. So the first one is, I add the credit card fees to invoices so we can pass the charges on to customers. Do you guys have this option? We've just answered that, I think, with
Cool.
Susie's question.
Yep.
So we can skip that one. Apologies. Can I take a 25% deposit instead of a 50? percent deposit, and can I be flexible along the way?
Yeah, yes. Yeah. So the answer is yes. So in the back end of Pencil, you can configure it however you want. So you can set a default, just say your default's 20%, and that's for all customers. But then you might decide for a certain portion of customers that you want this particular customer to be 50%. Again, just a quick configuration, quick update in Pencil, and then it'll automatically spit out the 50% deposit required at the other end. So everything's configurable down to a customer level.
Next one, you've mentioned credit. So I'm saying you've mentioned credit cards. The question that they've asked is, do you have to store credit cards? Can they use bank accounts?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got direct debit as an option as well. Now, as you guys know, most customers will pay with electronic funds transfer. That's going to be the lion's share of your overall payments. That's 70%, 80% usually. And then the other 20 will be made up of either credit card or credit card and direct debit. So for us, we provide a direct debit facility as well. So customers can, when they complete a application form or an onboarding form, that doubles up as a direct debit authority as well.
Cool, great. And next question, let's see here. So how does the customer paying trigger any updates to the sales and warehouse team?
Yeah, cool. Yeah, that's actually a really good question. So as you probably know, the sales and warehouse team have got this ongoing problem where if they're waiting for payment, for the sales team to get back in touch with the customer or for the warehouse team to release stock, there's nothing that's truly automated to say, okay, payment has come in at this particular second. How do I tell these people? So what happens is you can add as many different users as you want, and they can have different notification levels. So what you can do is you can have a warehouse worker and a salesperson added as users for whenever someone pays an account. And that means that they'll be notified every time a transaction goes through. And what that does, it just says to them, hey, you can send out the stock, or hey, your customer's paid. So we try and keep everyone in the loop.
Cool. And I've got one last question. So after we sent out our first mail out, actually, we mentioned specifically Cin7 Core somewhere in there, and a question came in just to say, or to ask, will what you're showing work with any other inventory management platforms or just Cin7 Core?
So at the moment, so look, part of it works with just the accounting softwares. So for example, all the automatic billing stuff works with the accounting softwares. All the prepaid or payment before dispatch stuff just works directly with accounting software as well. It's just the things like the deposits, the automated deposit percentages. That's what we've got customized purely for Cin7 Core. We haven't built that feature with any others because we wanted to just nail it with Cin7 Core and obviously dear prior. The feature's working really well. A lot of customers, and there's a lot of users that can really benefit from it in the Cin7 Core ecosystem. So that's really what we're focused on for now.
Great. So that's everything that I had. I've just put out a last call for questions to the Q&A box. But outside of that, I think we're
beautiful.
We're done.
That's great. So thanks so much, mate. So from here, everyone, what we'll do is we'll send you an email. It'll probably be in about an hour or two, which will have a few different things. It'll have a recording of today's webinar, so you can refer back to it if need be. And then there'll also be a couple of different links. So one of the links will be to the book a demo page. So you guys will be able to book a demo with me, or you'll be able to sign up to a free trial. Now we give all Waypoint referrals, we give them a 60-day free trial as well. So you can feel free to do that, or you can book a demo. And the other one will be a link to be able to book a time with Matt. So if you guys have any other items that you want to cover off with Matt, or if you want to talk about, have a discussion with him prior to booking a demo, that type of thing, and want some advice, by all means, go through Matt and you can have that conversation then. And that's kind of everything I wanted to cover. I really appreciate everyone's attention today. I know we've probably gone 6 minutes over time, which very rarely happens. So all those extra questions kind of have done that to us, which is really good. It's good to see people engaged. Matt, do you want to cover off anything before we finish up?
Yeah, just very quickly, because I know we've got a few clients in here who are currently working with us on an hourly services agreement, and that you might be working with Reese as an example. So if you do have questions about the platform and you are currently working with Reese on anything, you can also feel free to just ask him during one of your calls. So he knows a heap about the platform, and also he's probably kind of intimate with your business setup at the moment as well. So he'd be a really good resource to lean on as well if you've already got that relationship with him.
Awesome. So I just want to thank everyone so much. It was great to be able to talk to you all today. Any other questions, inquire with us, yell out, give us a call, and we're more than happy to answer any questions you've got. Thanks again for your time.
Cool. Thanks,
Cheers.
everyone.
And thanks so much, Matt. Appreciate it.
No, thank you for doing this. We really appreciate it as well.
That was awesome. Cheers.
Take care.